What's up YouTube, and welcome back to the M54 project. Today is all about adding more power to the 135i. Let's get into it. If you're new to the channel, please make sure to subscribe, as it really helps build motivation for this channel, and also make sure to check out the past videos that should be up here on the screen right now. We just recently did the charge pipe. That was the first of our engine mods and is definitely a must if you haven't done it already. So today is all about this bad boy right here. So for those of you that don't know, this is a 7.5 inch stepped race intercooler by VRSF. The main purpose of this mod is to help with the temperature and the airflow going into the turbo, which allows us to go to stage 2.5 and get that extra boost, which means more power. To be honest, I've been putting this mod off as I know it's going to be tough, but that's why we're doing this. And it's all about giving you guys the tips so that you can do it yourselves. So let's jump into it. So today we're trying something a little bit different. We're going to be doing the mods outside, which hopefully will give you, the viewers, a much better experience with a lot more light. The first trick that we need to do is turn the wheels inward on both sides so that we can access a screw that's on the inside here. This will allow us to skip taking the entire wheels off and really help us save some time. So with the wheel turned in like this, you can access the inner arch well where all the screws are kept. Okay, so the screw you need to unscrew is this one here. There. Okay, so little edit from what I just said previously. There's actually two additional screws that I didn't notice at first. It says this one here, and then there's also this one here, in addition to the one that we already took out up here somewhere. So 3 on each side. So now that we've got those screws off, I'm going to bring the car up onto the ramp so we can get underneath and access the other screws we need to take off to remove the front bumper. Okay, so now that we've got the car up and ramp, the next steps are to take off a couple screws that are under here, and then we've got to pry off this edge and actually take off the bumper. We've also got to do these little light washers, disconnect the top part of it so that when you pull off the bumper, it doesn't pull off your entire water jets. So I've now removed all the screws from this side. If you can see a couple little holes there, as well as the other side, but this is when you really can tell how your car has been kept in condition. There's a bunch of like zip ties holding things together. I had to cut off a couple of zip ties to take off the front bumper, but also my whole under tray is actually missing. So something I definitely will be looking to replace in the future. So the trick for these ones is you need to wedge in between and push up. You've got these two little tabs that you can see here, and they're just like clipped in. So you just wedge that up, and when you've got all the screws unscrewed from the inner well, it's very easy to come off. So just do that on both sides. Like you can see here, brighten it up a bit. Yep, so do that on both sides. Then we need to move on to this top side. So undo these 4 and get the weather strip off, similar to when we did the headlight bulbs. Okay, so we used the T25, got rid of these 4 bolts here, these 4 Torx screws, undid the weather strips on both ends. Before you take off your bumper, you really need to take off these headlight washers. So you just pop them up, and you need to disconnect the hose from this little cover, but be warned, they do squirt, I've been told. So let's see what happens. Okay, easy. And we have success. It was pretty easy actually. I mean, besides all those little screw confusions, relatively easy. So onto the more difficult part now. So this is a good example of the cheapness. We've got this under panel section hanging on by zip ties. Make sure if you do have the full under tray that you do remove all of the parts so that we can allow the old intercooler to slide out and the new one to slide in. But before we slide anything in, we're going to need to do some cutting. So next up, we're going to be removing this bolt on both sides. It's a hex 225 on both sides. Then I believe we just need to remove this quick release clip from the pipes and the old intercooler should come out. Let's give it a go. Okay, so we've managed to get the old intercooler out. And this is a bit of a side by side. This is the old one, you can see the thickness. And this is the new bad boy. Look at the size difference. Seriously. That is massive in comparison. So you can understand why we're gonna have to go to town and cut a whole bunch away with our Dremel. So before we get into cutting anything, we need to actually probably fit these supporting parts on. New lower intercooler pipe, and for the other side as well, these connect to the back. But basically, it's part of what we did last time with the charge pipe. So if you haven't seen my charge pipe video, it's going to be up right now. But we need to be removing this pipe in there. You can see it a bit better. This one, that's connected to our current charge pipe. So that goes down and connects to the intercooler. And then on the other side, in there somewhere, we have to do the same thing basically. If we can see up there. So that pipe, we need to get it off. But there's this little metal ring that I think permanently attaches it. We're not going to be reusing it, so I think we just need to Dremel through. I'll keep you updated. All right, so it's the next day. This has definitely been challenging. We ran out of time yesterday. It was starting to get a bit dark. So we've pushed it off to the next day, and now we're into the tricky part. We've got to get the lower intercooler pipes happening, as well as trim all off the excess of this plastic area, which is going to take ages. I'll give you a little catch up of what I was working on last night. So one of the key sections is replacing this lower intercooler pipe with the new pipe that they give them, so that one down there. The old pipe is an absolute bitch to get off. You basically need to chop it at the bottom part. You can see right down there, because it's an S shape and you just can't pull it off. And then you've got to disconnect the charge pipe. Was it C-clips, I think they're called, V-clips, something like that. So you can reattach it all, and then you've just got to get it to fit all properly. So I've got one C-clip down in there, I think it is called, whatever you call it. Got to reattach these two up here, but I'm going to see if the intercooler actually fits in this position first, because so this pipe has to come out at the right angle. After that, we need to do this pipe. So we're going to get into it and we'll keep you updated. Okay, driver's side pipe is off. We have to get the flathead and wedge it up under this little metal band to move out those little tabs so this could disconnect. And then this thing would not budge, so we had to just get the Stanley knife and cut through the edge so that it would actually come off. We're not reusing this, so that's fine. Okay, so fingers crossed we don't have to re-angle these and they line up, because getting these V-band clips in is very difficult. Okay, so next we need to trim off all of this plastic. So I've already disconnected this little water hose. You can see sort of down here, it was running along in these things. You can see the dirt line. Just disconnect that. Watch out for this wire. We need to trim all of this plastic and all this bottom part too. So I've already tested to see if it will work. My Dremel, it is working, so we need to trim all this shit off, all of this. So basically, previously, the little tiny intercooler fit in here, but now it needs to go out further and go up behind the crash bar. So you don't touch the crash bar because that would void any kind of insurance, but the plastic bits, they're just for looks basically. They don't really have any structural integrity, and this is what everyone else has done. So back to you soon. Whenever using a Dremel, safety first. Okay, quick update. As you can see, we've actually skipped ahead, but that's because this Dremel has been an absolute bitch to do. So I'll give you the basics. You need to trim all the way to this edge. So just compare to your non-trimmed car. Once you get to taking off your old intercooler and bonnet, you need to trim to that edge. And this is the important one. You need to trim all the way up here. So the easy way to tell is to compare it to, if you can see in there, this little part where it gets to, there's an X that goes below that. Trim all the way up there. And then again, on this side, you need to trim a shitload there too. This has been extremely difficult. Little tips and tricks. You need to remove this cable so you don't chop it. That just goes in here, just in there. This water hose gets in the way every time, but you do what you can. I use jack stands to support the intercooler as I was lifting it up on my own. Very difficult. And then the other part, these screws, they give you an extra little barrier thing. They don't fit. Also, your hoses, where are the hoses? Hoses, you need to keep adjusting them basically. Sometimes they're too high, sometimes they're too low. You gotta make them just right. So, gonna reattach everything, test it, and hopefully it all works. Okay, everything is now reconnected. We are good to go. Fingers crossed. So there's one more little bit I've noticed we need to trim from the bumper. So as long as everything goes to plan, we'll trim that off and then connect the bumper back on. So the final area that we need to be trimming off is just these two little tabs here and here. They're just sticking into the bigger intercooler. Chop them off and we're done. No fault codes. Woo! So that was by far the hardest install we've done yet. Off camera, what you didn't see was there was a couple of boost leaks. So I had to jump back in there, tighten up some of those V-clips. It was on the passenger side, I think so. So make sure when you're doing it that you tighten them right up. Any amount of give, it's just gonna fly off or let the boost leak. So that's my tip. So this time around, we're not doing a reaction video. We'll save that for next time, as I'm gonna be increasing the tune to stage 2+, which will really boost up that power and get us those results we've been looking for. As always, big thank you for watching. We're really starting to drive this project along and hoping to take it to the next level through 2021. So big thank you for all the subscribers. And if you're new to the channel, why don't you think about subscribing if you enjoyed this video? That's all for now. Until next time, peace.